My name is Gregory, and this is my video for the It Gets Better project. I lived in a small town in northeast Nebraska called Ponca until I was in 5th grade. And during those early years of school, things were not horrible for me, although other kids did pick up on the little things, the little idiosyncrasies that I apparently had projected. You know, when I was 6 or 7 years old, I didn't necessarily know that I was gay. I knew I was a little bit different, and other kids obviously picked up on that. They knew I was gay apparently before I did. So I had, most of my friends were probably girls. I still remember, most of my friends were girls back in those days. When I got to 5th grade, my parents divorced and we moved to a large metropolitan area, and things got significantly worse actually for me. We moved to San Jose, California in 1981, and I attended a school called Joseph George Middle School when I got into 6th grade. And that's when things got really, really bad for me. I was routinely called fag, queer, pussy. I had things thrown at me, things taped on my back. I was attacked in the football field by a group of kids and beat. I was passively aggressively harassed. People would sit across from me at a table and just stare at me to try to get me to get upset. One time during lunch, I was attacked by a group of friends, I thought, and they sprayed fart spray in my hair. This was all pretty indicative of a daily life for me during those years. My grandmother lived right across the street from the middle school that I attended. And on more than one occasion I would flee, literally in the middle of school, across the street to my grandmother's house, in tears, crying. She didn't know why I was crying. She knew that kids were being mean to me. She didn't understand why. But she did what she could to make me feel better. She was a Mexican immigrant, so she would say, "Oh, Encanto, I don't understand why kids are so mean to you," but she would make me a plate of chorizo and eggs, and help me wipe my tears up and send me back across the street to school. And I tried to talk to people about my problems at school, the harassment that I faced, the bullying, to really no avail. I did tell teachers, nothing really stopped. I remember distinctly going and sitting in the principal's office at Joseph George, in tears, crying. I mean, I was 12 years old, and telling him that I was being harassed. He was a well-meaning man, but you know what he said to me? Hit him. Fight back. I won't kick you out of school if you hit him, if you fight back. Now, that's not necessarily an option for a scared 12 or 13-year-old gay kid. I know that, and I didn't fight back. I instead just turned inward, and it was hard. Life got harder for me. My mother didn't know what was going on. She tried to comfort me as best as she could, but she was a single mother raising 3 children, and so she had her own things going on, and she didn't really understand why her son, who in many ways was, normal, was having problems at school, and was being teased. And so she would often sit with me and cry, and just wonder what she could do. Because at 12 years old, I wasn't ready to say what it was that kids were harassing me for. This was back in the 80s, so I really had, I want to say that, I had no friends, really. I had some friends in junior high, but nobody to call close friends, really. And so I kind of turned to music. And back in the 80s, there was this big wave of musicians coming out from, especially like England, the UK, who were gay or kind of, you know, on the alternative edge of, you know, kind of pushing gender roles and breaking gender stereotypes. Namely, I mean, it's obvious, Boy George was a beacon of light for me when I was 12, 13 years old. I kind of retreated into this world of music to escape because pop music really became my only friend, the only thing I could trust when I was that age. When I was about 16 years old, I'd begun high school, James Lick High School on the east side of San Jose, California again. The harassment got more mature, but it was still a daily thing. The only thing that made it a little bit easier about high school is that I did meet a few other kids who were alienated and picked on. One friend in particular, who I admired quite a bit, was picked on more than I was, and so I kind of compared myself to him, and I remember thinking at the time, at least I don't have it as bad as him. There's always somebody who's going to have it worse, but it doesn't lessen the impact of the abuse that is foisted upon us. And that's exactly what it is. It took me a long time to really kind of realize what happened to me in junior high and in high school was abuse. In fact, it was abuse. And what's happening to you if you're being teased because you are gay or lesbian, or questioning or wondering, you know, if you're gay or not. It's not just harassment, that is child abuse. I came out of the closet at 17 years old. Not so much, I think, because I wanted to, but because, well, I just couldn't stand it anymore. I couldn't stand being in the closet, and I had to say something. So in the summer of 1988, I came out. I told my father and my stepmother, who were fantastic. Luckily, they're both in the psychology field, so they kind of understood that, you know, my sexual orientation was just part of the natural continuum of sex, of sexual orientation. And then it came out to my mother. A couple of weeks went by. It was hard for her a little bit, but you know what? Within a couple of weeks, things actually got much better. And within 2 weeks of me telling her that I was gay, she was literally dropping me off at a gay and lesbian youth center. I will admit I had actually not thought about suicide, but I knew people that did. My way of escape was through music at the time, and, you know, fantasizing about leaving California and becoming, you know, gay man like in New York, where I could kind of live my life and do as I pleased with no one knowing what was going on. I got shipped back to live with my father and my stepmother right before my junior year in high school to a smaller town, Council Bluffs, Iowa. Not terribly rural, but not exactly the metropolitan of the Bay Area in California. And you know what? Even though things were hard there, they were easier for me in that smaller community. That's where I came out of the closet. That's where I told my best friends that I was gay. That's where I told my family that I was gay. So living in a major metropolitan city sometimes has an advantage for young gay kids. Sometimes it doesn't. I had a better experience in a medium to smaller community than I did in a large city. My family, I realized that I am lucky. Lucky is not the right word. Fortunate to have a family that supports and loves me, friends that support and love me, and that is why it gets better. It doesn't necessarily happen overnight. For some people it does, for some people it doesn't. For myself, even though I came out at a young age, it took many, many years for me to kind of acknowledge that what had happened to me was not right, and certainly was abuse. And so, you know, if you don't talk about those things, if you don't share our stories, you tend to grow bitter. And that's why we're doing this. That's why we're talking about this. Because now I feel so much joy, and I see so much beauty in the world. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that I have this unique perspective on things. I have been given a gift of my sexuality. Everyone's sexuality is a gift. And the experience I had has given me a unique perspective on the world, which I cherish and value very, very much. So this is why it gets better. I keep saying this, why it gets better. Because times are changing. Things are much different than they were 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, even 10 years ago. I never would have thought that I would have seen gay and lesbian marriage in my lifetime, let alone in the United States. And here we have several states that are allowing gay and lesbian marriage, and I think in my lifetime we will see it. The biggest reason, though, that things get better, in addition to the change, is the love that you can feel. If you are a young girl and you have a crush on, you know, a fellow student, you're a young boy and you have a crush on a fellow student, you know, and it doesn't necessarily reciprocate it because you're not saying anything, you know, you're quiet, you're in the closet, and it's okay. But you know what? One of those days, that love is going to come back to you. It's going to be reciprocated. And falling in love is what it's all about. The joy and the beauty and the overwhelming, wonderful feeling that you get when you can experience someone else love you the way you love them makes it all worth it. There's nothing that can dissuade me from thinking otherwise. If there's anything that I want to impart, most importantly, to young gay and lesbian children and kids who are questioning, is that there's nothing wrong with you. Nothing. Do you hear me? There's nothing wrong with you. If you're depressed, it's not because you're gay. If you're so sad, it's not because you're gay. It's because of what people have told you about yourself. And you know what? Those things are lies. You're a valid person. The love that you feel is valid. The sexual attraction you feel to the same gender is just fine. Sexuality is a continuum. There's nothing wrong with you. I hope that you can learn that and understand that. But the depression you may feel does not come from your sexuality. It comes as a byproduct of the hatred that is out there, that comes from a pulpit, a church, your teachers, your parents, your school, and it's all lies. It's just flat out lies. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with me, and there's nothing wrong with you. And that's why it gets better. Thank you.